Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a Christmas special. In today's video, I'm going up against some of the best battlers in the world, while ranked in the top 25 globally, but in the spirit of Christmas, I'm running a level 50, fully maxed out Galar Darmanitan. Now it goes without saying, Galar Darmanitan should never be used in the Master League. Even with the buff to Ice Fang, it's not very good. However, with some good teammates and a little bit of luck on my side, I'm going to try and get some wins anyway. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at level 50 Galar Darmanitan in the Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a truly terrible lead, double nuke Zacian into Landorus. My energy is completely walled here, so my game plan is this. Tank a move, bank all the energy, and then I'm going to save switch into my own Landorus. I'm behind the energy here, but I do have a health advantage. Opponent is going to connect with a Stone Edge. They're going to try and go for a catch of a Stone Edge onto Dialga, but now that they failed that catch, I can make the back-to-back Sandsear Storm and either pick up a knockout and win switch, or grab an early shield advantage. The Sandsear Storm is going to be shielded, opponent is going to retain switch advantage, and now it is time. In comes Darmanitan. Darmanitan, even though they're debuffed, ×2, I have to shield everything here as Darmanitan is just way too frail. In the back is a Charm Primarina, and unfortunately this game is just not looking like a win. I'm completely walled by that Primarina. I send in Zacian, I force a shield with the Wild Charge, in comes Landorus, and now I'm more than happy to let this go, because I can fully Ice Fang down. Opponent is going to undercharge the Sandsear, trying for extra farm. I will fire off the last second close combat. Close combat is going to connect, getting them low. Darmanitan gets a farm down. The question is, can I live a charm? The answer is yes. I'm at the back-to-back avalanches. It is resisted damage, but Primarina doesn't have the greatest stats. Is this win possible? Avalanche number 2 knocks out the Primarina. We were countered every which way in that game, but we're able to escape with a win. We've got a mirror lead in the next match, Zacian versus Zacian, but my opponent is actually running Snarl. Snarl, they will have the better energy generation, of course, but in the mirror, I've already done way more fast move damage than they're able to do. They're going to connect with a Wild Charge. I'm going to return fire with a Wild Charge of my own. Opponent is going to commit the shield. I'm able to get a second Wild Charge off. They're debuffed, so they're going to shield. They should do one in the move, so I'm going to anticipate that play and make a switch and a catch of that Wild Charge onto Landorus, where it will be resisted. Opponent going to send in Xerneas, and this is not a good matchup for the Xerneas. Granted, they do have a health advantage, but I'm very surprised to see Xerneas here. What is that third Pokemon? So far, all we've seen is ABA Fairy types. Moonblast is going to connect, massive damage, and they will get the farm down. In comes the Zacian. Zacian is going to make it to a Wild Charge. Wild Charge, I believe, will come very close to knocking out here, and it does. Down goes the Xerneas. Opponent is going to bring in their own Zacian. I cannot make the Wild Charge, however, as they're able to get to the Wild Charge of their own. I'm just going to let it go. 2-shield Darmanitan. Win or lose me the game, I believe in you. Opponent is going to go for the close combat. There's a switch out. It's a Veltal in the back, and Darmanitan, pay no attention to how much damage those sucker punches are doing. Darmanitan Avalanche picks up the KO. In goes the Zacian. They need 2 charge moves. They're not going to get there. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Decent lead in the next match, Zacian into Palkia. Opponent is going to save switch into Duskmane, and I get to respond with Landorus. Now, since I'm running Wild Charge close combat, Zacian with the double nuke moveset is actually not very good into the Palkia whatsoever. Here, I am able to build up to the back-to-back Sandsear Storms. My opponent is going to shield the first, and now they're going to have to shield the second as well, so they're forced to go down 2 shields in the mid-game to win switch. However, I am very ABA weak to this Pokemon, so I bring back in the Zacian. I know they're debuffed, but even a debuffed Sunsteel Strike does way too much damage. In the back is their own Zacian, and now I'm gonna need Darmanitan to pull magic out of a hat here. For Darmanitan, I think my best case scenario is probably going for a 2-shield farm down. This way I'll have a ton of energy, and I'm not expecting an Avalanche to be able to one-hit KO Palkia, but if I have 2 of them, then that should be enough to get the job done. I do get the Ice Fang farm down of the Zacian. What are they going to be sending in here? They're going to send back in the Palkia from the beginning of the match, and now it's Avalanche time. Avalanche number 1 is going to connect. Opponent is going to switch out into the Duskmane Necrozma. I'm farming up as much as I can, trying to overfarm, and going for the Avalanche. Avalanche will connect. They hang on 1 HP. I'm very close to the next move. Can I get there? No, I can't. I'm forced to switch into the Zacian as they fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will KO. Can I get the move? The answer is no. Darmanitan, so glassy, and we do lose the game. Zacian versus Enamorus. Enamorus, honestly, this entire team can hit Enamorus for super effective damage, but even so, Enamorus is a very scary Pokemon. As the Zacian, I always want to let them throw first, because after I tank the fly, then I should be in a better position. They make a catch onto a Necrozma. It is going to be the Duskmane variant, and I'm very happy to see this on the save switch, because obviously this team is extremely ABA weak to it. In comes the Landorus to answer. I can farm up and throw the Sandsear Storm when they're able to make it to the Sunsteel Strike. So they will get knocked out, and I'm still very, very healthy. Back in comes the Enamorus, but I'm not in a range where Fly will KO. Fly does a ton of damage, don't get me wrong, but Fly will not knock out, so I'm safe to no shield. I make the Stone Edge, and this, of course, will cleanly KO the very glassy Enamorus if they let it through, and they do. In the back is a Veltal. In comes Darmanitan, and you might think the game is over, but look, we're doing the same amount of fast move damage to each other. That's how bad Darmanitan is in the Master League. The Yveltal Galarian Darmanitan 2-shield matchup is a tie, but I'm able to take it by the narrowest of margins because they did end up throwing a move. We move to the next match. Opponent is going to safe switch into Landorus. Landorus get absolutely cooked. I do have to respect the Stone Edge. They bait me with the Sandsear Storm, and suddenly I really regret that shielding decision because now my energy is going to be debuffed. I would love an ability to pivot out, but unfortunately Darmanitan was able to KO the opponent so quickly that my switch clock is nowhere close to being up. So I'm not able to switch out and preserve any energy. Instead, I'm just forced to fire off charge attack after charge attack. I don't know if Overheat does more. I'm just going for it anyway. I haven't gotten a chance to throw it yet. I send in Zacian. My fast attack does get denied, which is unfortunate. So I do lose a quick attack I should have gotten. In the back is Kyogre. Oh no, and this game is just over. There's unfortunately nothing I can do at this point as I have a Landorus in the back. So unless my opponent decides to no-shield Kyogre for absolutely no reason, there is just no realistic way to win this game. I send in the Landorus. Landorus farming up. Maybe if my opponent makes the worst mistake of their life and they shield this, but they know I have Wild Charge, they're never going to be shielding. My opponent is going to actually make a nice switch out and a catch onto the Primarina. Honestly, I have to throw here because my clock isn't up. So here, I will actually go for an undercharge to try and get energy on the Zacian, but my opponent has a move banked on the Kyogre, and I would need to get 2 double wild charges and for them not to have a move banked. So realistically, that game was over quite a while ago. Bad lead in the next match, leading into the Landorus. We were able to beat a Landorus lead earlier. This strategy of banking a move, tanking the Sandsear, and safe switching into your own Landorus is a very good one, as most of the time, a lot of teams with Landorus leads use Landorus as their counter for Zacian. So Zacian's energy, especially on double nuke, is very valuable in the back. Stone Edge is being traded in the Landorus mirror. I no-shield theirs, they're going to shield mine, and they switch out into Zacian, and this is a massive surprise, because Zacian has a terrible matchup into Landorus. They're not even going to be able to farm down here. I can apply debuff with Sandsear. I make another Sandsear unless they throw energy. So the fact that they sent that in, now I have to brainstorm what could be in the back. If it's something like the Duskmane, I think I just lose. If it's something like a Dialga, then I potentially have more chance. Or if it's a Rhyperior, that would also be pretty solid as well. So now that I have some stored energy on the Zacian, I'll go for stored energy on Darmanitan as well. In the back, it's going to be Dialga. Dialga, I'm farming up, and I'm going to fire off the Avalanche. Avalanche, not going to one-hit KO here, but it will do quite a lot of damage. I'm going to look to bank some energy, switch into the Zacian, and they have to shield this if they want to keep the energy on Dialga. And they do just that. They're now going to send in Landorus. Landorus farming up a ton of energy, and I'm more than happy to let them throw a move here. They can knock me out. That's very okay. They are going to go for an undercharge, and that will actually allow me to make a double close combat. And close combat, even though its debuff should be enough to pick up the knockout, is my switch timer up though? Switch timer just up. They realize they're not getting to 2 moves versus Darmanitan, and they will concede the match. We see a very familiar sight in the next match, the Zacian Mirror. I'm always going to be playing this out and just waiting for them to throw their energy first, because I want to tank a charge attack before I debuff my defense with a wild charge. They go for a play rough, I click wild charge, opponent makes a devastating catch onto Rhyperior. Bad news for my opponent though, is guess what is meeting this Shadow Rhyperior? In comes Landorus. Landorus is going to absolutely dominate this matchup. They could have thrown a Breaking Swipe on alignment, but they try and go for the Shadow Rockwrecker, and that energy will be denied with the well-timed Sandsear Storm. In the back is Yveltal, and this game is looking very, very good for me. They still have a very healthy Zacian, but they have an Yveltal, and I have a Galarian Darmanitan. They'll fire off their energy before I make another Stone Edge. I decide to commit the shield. Opponent is going to switch into their Zacian. My clock's up, so I switch back into mine as they fire off a charge move, but I do want this energy, so I will actually end up committing the shield. I will get to the back-to-back wild charges. If this wild charge KOs, then I just instantly win the game, but they're too healthy. It's not going to KO. I force the CMP tie, and I hit 0 bubbles. This is intentional. I want to leave them at 1 HP, so that way I get extra farm with my Landorus, because Landorus already has a Stone Edge loaded, so at this point, I should just be in a completely won position. So now I can just go for the double Stone Edge and win the game, but I make a devastating error. I Sandsear Storm bait for no reason, and my opponent no shields, saying the only way that they win is if they call a bad bait, and my bad bait cost me. Now I bring in Darmanitan, but Darmanitan is very frail. Even an Oblivion Wing would do a ton of damage here, but that's not an Oblivion Wing, that's a Focus Blast. They're gonna farm down everything. I played so well until the end, but a devastatingly bad bait completely sinks my chances of winning. We move to the next match. Good lead and very good mid-game opportunities for me here, as I end up leading Zacian into Yveltal, and the Duskmane save switch again gets punished with the Landorus. Sunsteel Strike, even at -1, is a devastatingly effective charge attack, so I will be committing the shield, because I know that the energy on Landorus can still be very valuable against Yveltal. Last game, I got punished by going for a bait, so I am not baiting anymore. I am full sending the Stone Edge at Yveltal, and of course they will shield. I'm going to pivot back out here. I'm expecting that my Landorus will have play in the back, so I'm just going to send in Zacian and see what they have. As Zacian's energy is pretty strong into most things, not that though, as they bring in Landorus, and Landorus, oh my goodness, this is not great for the Zacian, but you may notice, you could probably hear from my voice, there's a smile on my face in this moment, and that's because my opponent has committed the cardinal sin of having ABA flyers when I have a Darmanitan. So now Darmanitan gets to fully Ice Fang down that Landorus. Back in comes Yveltal. I get to fire off the Avalanche. Avalanche will inflict some serious damage, so this will force the final shield from the Yveltal. The quick switch to my Landorus. I make it to the Stone Edge, and that's going to be good night. Down goes Yveltal. We get redemption from that terrible throw in the last game. Absolutely awful lead in the next match. We've seen so many Duskmane save switches, and now it's finally on the lead, and this is so bad. This basically is just auto game over. I don't really have a chance of winning. My play is to wild charge and then call a Dark Pulse because I live a Dark Pulse, but they're on Iron Head. No, they're on Iron Head. Oh, that is so bad. They're going to send in Yveltal. I bring in Darmanitan, but as we know, this is actually not a winning matchup for Darmanitan. It's a tie in the 2-shield. They go for the Oblivion Wing. I'm farming up. I would love an ability to farm down, but Darmanitan still cannot do that. And I'm forced to fire off an Avalanche. Avalanche is going to pick up the knockout. My opponent will be able to send back in the Duskmane Necrozma. Necrozma's low enough that honestly an Avalanche will be able to KO, but I'm very, very worried. I think it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to sweep with Landorus. Tough call to make here. I decide to let it go. They go for the Iron Head. Because they have the back-to-back moves loaded, I will commit the shield. I really need it to be something I can one-shot. It's their own Landorus in the back. That's not a winning endgame, so I will concede the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Zacian into a shiny Yveltal. Opponent's going to save switch into their own Zacian. There's Zacian. I'm going to go for a Wild Charge and Dip, just looking to get some chip damage before I send in my Landorus. Now my Landorus is able to hit the field. I could decide to shield up the play rough here if I wanted to, but I decide against it. Bit of a risky play on my part, but I thought that even if I tank the play rough, I can still make a Stone Edge versus a Veltal. Now we'll have to put that to the test. In comes a Veltal, and the play actually works out. I'm still able to make the Stone Edge. So this Stone Edge will inflict some massive damage. They end up no shielding, and now I'm just going to bring back in the Zacian. Zacian, I'm more than happy to tank a move, and I just really need Darmanitan to be able to do something in the back. Oh my goodness, it's Dawn Wings. That is not what I was hoping to see at all. I fire off a Wild Charge. Dawn Wings is going to shield, and in comes Darmanitan. But Darmanitan, we've already seen it ties against the Veltal and the 2s, and that's where it has a type advantage. So when it's type neutral, and it is Iron Head too, no! This is so bad. They're firing off an Iron Head, and I think I'm going to get outpaced here. I'm nowhere near the second Avalanche. I will fire it off. This is going to force the final shield, but this is where running weird Pokemon can be a win con because my opponent switches out there thinking I had 2 moves, but I didn't. No one knows Darmanitan counts, so due to my opponent making a bit of a misplay there, we are able to secure a win in this final game. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this Christmas edition here at the HomeSliceHenry channel. Galarian Darmanitan, oh my goodness, it is so bad. Even with the Ice Fang buff, a lot of the Ice Fang buffs actually made some Pokemon viable. Like, I've seen Zamazenta quite a few times in Master League Leaderboard Elo. And Baxcalibur, of course, while it would still prefer to be in Premier, still definitely quite a bit better. But my goodness, Darmanitan tying with a Veltal in the 2s, be so serious right now. It definitely took a lot of hard work and some very strong teammates to get any wins. Through the first 2 sets that I played with the team, I was actually a net 1 positive elo, and then the set 3 obviously was very, very negative because it's a Darmanitan, and Darmanitan is not a Pokemon that should be run in the Master League. Overall, I did have a lot of fun though. It is a very fun challenge getting to run Pokemon that people don't really expect and trying to get good results with it, whereas something like the Kartana was a Pokemon that I genuinely thought was a good meta read, and this moment, I just thought it was a funny snowman, so we'll see how the sets go. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.